they do have a reason for what they're doing. They're going to find pastures of succulent material that's good nutrition, and they're going to key in on those. And they're going to go from this one to that one to that one to that one, time after time after time, day after day after day. And those will get hammered, and the rest of the pasture may grow up and get a little bit taller. When we start to use adaptive management strategies and we start to fence those off, create either temporary or permanent paddocks, we start to be able to shift that mindset of that cow from that local feeding station or plant-based decision to the paddock level decision. So the grazing distribution and utilization of that forage goes from spotty to complete. And then the other thing we get with a system like that is right back behind me, not the drum, a little bit further back. What do you guys see back there that we don't see a lot of right here? Well, there's an electric fence, but what's behind the electric fence? Grass, right? Actual visible green tall grass. So that one's in a rest stage right now. This one's being heavily utilized by the bulls that are kept up here in the paddock. But what we can do is actually start to rotate these animals through all those paddocks, and we can actually get to a system where we're helping them make that decision to graze on the paddock level if we stock it correctly, and then we're moving them to another paddock. And after we do that, what does this pasture do? Rest and recovery, right? Because is the most important part of our grass forage the above ground portion? Somebody give me a heck no. Heck no. It's the roots, right? The roots are what sustain us year over year, drought cycle, wet cycle, hot, cold, or otherwise. That's going to be the part that keeps this pasture covered in grass. When we deplete that top part, that plant has to pull from its roots to get reserves enough to put on new green tissue, to start producing photosynthesis, to put back down into the root system. So it's in a recovery mode, and if we just keep hammering it, like these little patches of very heavily utilized areas, they're going to keep getting hammered. And if we don't do something to allow them to rest and recover and put nutrients back into that soil, the first dry spell we get, the first 105-degree temperature week we get, it's going to annihilate that patch of grass, and we may lose it completely. But if we give it time to rest and recover, that's going to build the soil root reserves, that's going to build our soil root mass and a lot of the biodiversity and soil structure underneath it. We're going to benefit greatly from being able to do that. And so when we do that on a regular scale, we get rest for this pasture, we have drought insurance for the other years or parts of the year where we're going to have a lot of drought weather, which we know is coming. We know it's probably going to come in July and August and September when we really need that grass, because we don't want to start feeding hay right off the bat in July. But if we give this rest, when we're rotating among paddocks, this is growing grass. And we can come back and utilize it in maybe 2 to 3 months after the fact and be able to have grazing insurance right here in our own place. If we don't do that, if we don't stock our properties right, what do we end up having to do? 2 things that we'll have to choose to do. Sell down coal cattle, or find more land or find more hay, right? And hay and land are really cheap these days, right? Right. Yeah, everybody's got that big paycheck, no problem whatsoever. So the best thing we can do is be good stewards of the soil root system, save these grasses, and let them work for us. So in addition to letting those work for us, I know the guys are going to talk about it here in just a minute, but soil test, soil test, soil test. Especially for these improved forages, we cannot live on rest alone. We have to have soil nutrient inputs. But if you're doing the same rate of fertilizer that granddad or grandma was doing back 60 years ago, you likely are doing a disservice to the ground. You may be over putting fertilizers that you don't need, or you may be way undershooting those. But without a soil test annually, if not more often than that, to tell you exactly what you need to be putting in there, you're going to be losing some potential forage production and some potential root reserves as well. Yes, ma'am.
crazy how it's like so close to that telephone pole. Oh, there it goes. It's spraying.
Probably faster than a tractor.
Way faster.